we are following reports that R. Kelly has been charged in Chicago with 10 counts of sexual abuse. The singer has faced accusations from dozens of women over the years who say he sexually assaulted them. R. Kelly has denied those allegations. In 2008, he was charged with making child pornography, but was cleared. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Kleiman is on the phone and joins me now. Hi, Rikki. It seems in many ways that this moment has been decades in the making. What is your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that I am not surprised that the charges have finally come to pass, and for two reasons. One has to do with the documentary that was aired that then created quite a national, if not international, stir about the possibility of R. Kelly being a serial sexual abuser of young women. And from that, the state's attorney in Chicago, which is Cook County, went forward and asked any victims to come forward. And the second reason is that we have heard a lot of news from Michael Avenatti, who was the lawyer for Stormy Daniels. Michael Avenatti claimed to have a tape and a whistleblower of a person, not the girl, but a person who knew and worked with R. Kelly for years, who could identify R. Kelly and the young girl who is allegedly 14 years old, in this sex tape. The sex tape that was then provided last weekend by Michael Avenatti to the state prosecutors runs about 45 minutes and allegedly shows the type of sexual acts that R. Kelly was accused of in the case that you referenced, where he was acquitted of similar charges or similar allegations in a child pornography case back in 2008. So this time, it sounds like they really have physical evidence, that is the videotape. Oh, apparently there were tapes before, and apparently before in the other trial, the jury saw them on a regular basis. But in this case, you have a whistleblower, too, who can apparently identify Mr. Kelly and this young girl.
And so, Rikki, how do you think the prosecution will approach this, and what challenges will they face?
Well, the challenge one prosecutor always faces is to look at the fact that they probably thought they had R. Kelly dead to rights back in the early 2000s for the case that eventually went to trial in 2008, and yet somehow the jury acquitted him. And one of the problems you have is that he has to know that the girl is underage. And if there is reason to believe that the girl is older, his defense, of course, is that I thought I was having sex no matter how traditional or how bizarre it may appear in terms of the sexual acts involved, but that I believed that she was a consenting adult. Apparently, in this tape, there are references to the fact of her having 14-year-old body parts, and that they mention the number of years as 14, and she calls him daddy. However, there is always the defense that that was just part of role play, and that there are people who engage in role play all the time in their sexual activities. So the real question is, was she a consenting adult in his mind and reasonably, or was she in fact a minor and he knew it?
Now, is the girl in question still a minor as far as we know, and would we need to hear her side of the story?
We're going to need to hear her side of the story, I believe. I don't think that just having the whistleblower identify the people on the tape is sufficient. At the same time, we do know that oftentimes prosecutors will spare a victim who is of tender years. I do not know the current age of this girl. I have heard or read Michael Avenatti claim that the crime is within the statute of limitations, which would make me think she is certainly not 14, but that she may not be terribly much older than that. At the same time, if she's been willing to go forward to Michael Avenatti and hire him, if that she is the client rather than the whistleblower, then I don't think there's any problem with hearing from her. It's very difficult to ever convict someone of aggravated sexual abuse without the victim testifying.
Right. Well, I think that there was some issue with that in that 2008 case. I'm not entirely familiar with it, but I believe part of what was difficult for prosecutors is that the girl in the video would not testify.
Which is why you had charges of child pornography.
Right.
And here, we don't know at the present moment if this is the only victim that is in these charges. I mean, there may be multiple victims in these charges who have been willing to come forward to the prosecutor and therefore would be willing to come forward at trial. We'll know that, I am sure, very soon.
Indeed. Rikki Kleiman, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you, Tanya.